It's been the public opinion that God of War Ragnarok has had a strange and sporadic marketing campaign. AAA releases typically lead up to launch with an overwhelming amount of trailers, big and small. The reveal of the products come far too soon, sometimes 5 years in advance, and you're slowly given information as soon as they have anything to share. Then there is the inverse. When a game is revealed in close proximity to its launch, it doesn't mean that you won't be showered in marketing, but the timeline in which it happens makes all the difference. New IP will need a more content-dense marketing campaign to convince you something unfamiliar is worth spending so much of your time and money on. However, if the product is coming from a studio with a consistent track record, then there is less to prove and in turn less marketing needed early on. God of War is one of PlayStation's strongest IP right now, both in sales and audience perception. Its reinvention in 2018 went on to sell over 20 million copies and win plenty of Game of the Year awards. Sony Santa Monica is currently on a pedestal. They're able to show less and still maintain the attention that they want. Unless disaster strikes, people will show up for God of War. There can come a time where, depending on what you've put out, you earn the ability to show less. The game can still be heavily marketed via ad spots and interviews, but finer story details and large gameplay segments become the least of what needs to be shown. One good showing is all that's needed to convince their potential audience. God of War's State of Play trailer was one of PlayStation's most well-crafted first-party trailers to date. Ragnarok being the end of the Norse saga will undoubtedly contain very many big plot moments where showing too much is a mistake, and so they haven't. They earned this approach and a single misstep can take it away, but what needs to happen for a studio to reach this position? In 2015, CD Projekt became the king of the open world RPG, a position previously dominated for a long time by Bethesda Game Studios. The Witcher 3 was made with an $81 million budget and a team of around 250 people in-house, and went on to be one of the highest-selling RPGs of all time. This level of excellence was quite the jump for CD Projekt from The Witcher 2. It didn't go unappreciated. Over the next 5 years, they became gaming's golden child. Their communication with their audience felt unparalleled, and they went on to release 2 large expansions. The one that closed out The Witcher 3's support, Blood and Wine, was regarded as some of gaming's best storytelling, even surpassing that of the base game. Those 5 years from 2015 to 2020 made them seem unstoppable. They had reached a position of trust you're seeing Sony Santa Monica utilize right now in the lead up to God of War Ragnarok. CD Projekt had undeniable trust from the consumer, but as soon as it can come, it can go. So their fall from grace during the previewing and rollout of Cyberpunk 2077 was something nobody could have predicted. During the review period and launch of Cyberpunk, we saw a different CD Projekt. An astounding contrast to the company that delivered The Witcher 3 and its subsequent expansions. Today it places them in the opposite position of Sony Santa Monica. They will be spending years rebuilding that trust, both via the completion of Cyberpunk 2077 and the lead up to the in-development new Witcher game. Cyberpunk Edgerunners has played a very important role in reigniting that interest, but there are many years and gestures left to go. There are not a lot of studios that can essentially do whatever they want and market to you however sparingly they want successfully. The paths they take to get there are ever changing. For some studios, it takes multiple games to earn that level of trust, or a reputation spanning more than a decade. Sony Santa Monica have been exclusively developing within the God of War franchise since its first outing in 2005. The majority of God of War's fan base is not from the 4 games spanning from PS2 to PS3. The release of God of War 2018 came to prove that Kratos could have more than a one-track mind. Evolving the franchise to fall in line with PlayStation's roster of third-person narrative-driven games drove God of War's popularity to heights that previously seemed impossible. The release of the previous 4 God of War games were not even the products that necessarily put Sony Santa Monica in such a trusted position. They were the groundwork that set up a single game, granting them an entirely new fan base, putting them in their current position. There are a lot of notable video game trailers that have been released, but sometimes we get a trailer that, even though it logistically can't, it could alone be the entire marketing campaign. A good trailer that is remembered for years is always a collection of everything the game has to offer. You need diverse gameplay shots, compelling looking story beats, world scope, dialogue that sets the stage, and a song that somehow weaves everything together effectively. There are only so many that have pulled this off. You'll find people constantly returning to them just to relive the feeling it gave them the first time. Breath of the Wild's release date trailer has the makings of a perfect trailer, effectively showing off the game's scope, teasing emotional moments cut between creative gameplay without giving away too much. Red Dead Redemption 2 has multiple instances of achieving this. Rockstar's very good at conveying the tone of their stories in such a short amount of time. They say so much even when showing so little. People have returned to these trailers for years to experience them again. There's importance in cutting a trailer this well. It can take people from mild excitement to feeling the need to take off work in order to experience something they believe will be special uninterrupted. God of War Ragnarok's story trailer provides just that and will likely go on to have the same effect. God of War found itself in an interesting place this year. Another discussion of whether or not it was going to do enough to justify being considered a sequel. You had a crowd somehow upset that Kratos didn't get in his boat in a new way, as if they find new ways to enter their car every day, paired with a notable absence at most Sony events. Excitement was present, but it wasn't palpable. Until September 13th, that is. This trailer gives you just enough of everything you need to see to solidify your interest without overstepping. This doesn't feel like a mere continuation of the same. There's a shift. Something is happening with Atreus that he seemingly cannot share. The way Kratos communicates with him actually feels like the time that has passed since the last game was more than just a plot device. Things happened. He's communicating with him in an entirely new way, almost as if he's fully settled into the mindset of a father. That single line delivery from Christopher Judge alone piques interest.
And still I follow.
You want to see the root of change. You see the changed gameplay bringing enhanced movement along with 2018's biggest issue being resolved, enemy variety. Sony Santa Monica makes a point of showing how diverse the environments are in this game, something that also needed to be expanded upon. Richard Schiff as Odin delivers a chilling piece of the script in which he questions Kratos' godhood. The idea of Kratos' unique experience as a god and the lack of worship and love he's received is an angle that's never been explored in God of War. It can yet again bring out a new side of Kratos and shape the way he moves and changes as a character throughout the narrative. Odin's dialogue intertwined with Kratos talking about the binding nature of fate really sets the stage. Ragnarok seems unavoidable, but its outcome is not certain.